Hello everybody to the second part of this video series where we are creating an alarm app using the MERN stack, which includes MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. So in the last video we started creating our server and we set up a simple server with a simple GET request for when we come to port 8000 and just send it. We didn't start the server here, so I'm just gonna say npm run dev to start the server on node.mon. Okay, so we also set that up in the previous video. So if you encounter this problem, this is a very common problem, and if you encounter it, just make sure you're in the right folder. Okay, so just cd into backend, and let's clear this and let's say npm run dev, and now this should work. Okay, and the reason it didn't work before is because I was in a separate folder. So let's just click send and we should have the text server working, meaning our server is working perfectly. But there's something missing here, and today's video will be quite a short one. And the thing missing here is, first, we have process.env.port, but we cannot access the port from the environment variable. So in order to do that, I'm just going to create a new bash terminal, and if you don't have this option, it means you don't have git installed. So go and install git. Okay, then you can come here and say npm I then .env, and .env is just a module, a library in Node.js that helps us access .env files. By the way, you can also use command prompt or PowerShell if you like. I'm just using git bash because it's faster and it's relatively better from what I've seen. And let me just let this install and I'll come back. Okay, so we are back and we have installed .env successfully. Let's just clear this for now and return to our original server.js. I mean git bash. So now we can, for now it's working because we are supplying a second option, which it means if this is not working, use this. But let's take this out and let's save it. Now we haven't configured anything, and it says listening on port undefined, meaning this process.env.port is undefined. In order to define it, what we can do is up here we can require the module we just installed .env. Okay, after we require that, you can just say dot then config, okay, then parentheses because it's a method. Then you can save it, and if we save it, 8000, and it's working. Anyway though, just for being safe, I'm gonna put the 8000 here, but our environment variables are working. Now if you come here and send this, it's working, so everything's working fine. Now let's work on the second thing, and the most important thing for this video is trying to connect to a MongoDB server. Okay, a MongoDB connection. Now here's the thing, we are not deploying this project. Okay, I'm not planning on deploying this project, but if I plan, and I'm going to show you how we can convert our connection to a local MongoDB Compass connection to an actual MongoDB Atlas connection, which we'll use when we host our website somewhere and when we deploy it. Okay, but for now we're just going to do it with the MongoDB Compass. Now I'll assume you have MongoDB Compass installed. If not, go ahead and install it. Now I have it on port 80, but most probably you'll have it on port 87017, and I'm not doing that because there's some issues with my Wi-Fi connectivity on that port. Anyway though, any port will work. So on localhost port 80, we can now connect it. So just click on the three dots and click copy connection string. And one reason we should use environment variables is because we want to keep some things secret. For example, we can say db_URL and paste this. Okay, so this is our MongoDB connection string. Let's save it. Okay, now when we deploy it, if we take this, for now it's a local MongoDB server, so it doesn't have any password or username, but in real world, when we deploy it, we can't copy this and put it wherever we want to connect. So if we do that, there will be a big issue on security. So if anybody has access to the code, they have access to the database, and we don't want anybody except people permitted to have access to the database. So if we put it in a .env file, nobody can see it. Instead, they'll just see this process.env.port, but they'll not be able to see the .env file because we'll not include in it while we deploy. Okay, now let's work on connecting our server to the database. Okay, now you can use the default MongoDB driver, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use a library called Mongoose, which is a better alternative from the MongoDB the driver, because it provides an extra layer of abstraction from what we have to do. So I'm just gonna, before that I have to install it. So I'm gonna come to an installation batch and say npm I mongoose. So as always, npm is the node package manager, I stands for install, and mongoose is the library we want to install. Just a brief explanation on the node package manager. So it will not take much long. It's a small package relatively. .env is a small package. Everything here is relatively small, but now let's because we have it installed. By the way, you can come to the package.json and see here express and dependencies. Okay, by the way, okay, let's delete this. I've created this by mistake. Sorry. Yeah, I've created these by mistake. So just click move to recycle bin, continue, and it will prompt you to delete it. And let's delete these two. Move to recycle bin. Here, move to recycle bin. Give administration permission. Okay, yeah, delete permanently. So now that we have this package JSON only in our backend, okay, so now we can come here and say const mongoose equals require. Okay, then you can say mongoose. There seems to be a problem. Okay, well, the problem is that we have installed this package mongoose to our root directory. I forgot to cd into the backend. Okay, backend. So I'm just going to say npm I mongoose and .env. You can do this to install multiple packages at once, and it's a small, relatively small, both of them, and it should install them. Let's just say clear. So now we can see here we have under dependencies we have both .env, express, and mongoose. So now we can use this in our project. So we can say here, if you start saying mongoose, VS Code will automatically show, meaning it is already found. Okay, so now that we have mongoose installed, we need to connect to our mongoose server. Okay, that's actually a very simple process. We can say mongoose, okay, dot connect. Okay, simple. Then and here we pass in the URI. So the URI, if you remember, is the database URL. I'm going to say that instead. Process.env dot db underscore URL. If you remember, we have set the db underscore URL. Then let's save it. So now we're going to use this db URL in our connection. So let's save it. Now at the moment we have no way of checking whether this is connected or not, but in real life what you would like to do is you don't want to connect to your server directly first. Okay, you want to do that second. First you want to connect to your database, because you don't want to be sending and taking into data without having a place to store it. That's a database. So you always want to connect to your database first, then you want to listen to a port. Okay, now there seems to be an issue here. We're going to fix that in a moment. Then we can say dot then, because this returns a promise, and we can say then in an anonymous function where we do two things. First, we just console the log. Just console the log. Server connected to database. Okay, simple enough. Then we take this, put it one up. By the way, the keyboard shortcut I use for this to move it lines is Alt, then up arrow and down arrow. Okay, so that's it. Now you can see this error. If we go up, the error says server echo refused port 180. So there might be many different reasons for this, but the most common one is that you are using a higher version of Node.js, and since some version of Node.js, localhost, the string localhost doesn't work. So instead what you gotta do is take localhost and say .0.0.0.0.0, okay, 0.0.0.0 4 times. Then you can save. Now if we save, and we should restart our server, let's just clear and npm run dev. Okay, then okay, so okay, we haven't saved it, that's why. But before we save it, let's just do a catch. Okay, catch, and we'll catch an error and just do a simple thing. Throw new, actually let's just console the log the error. Okay, simple, right? If in case of an error, we take the error and console the log it. Perfect. So now if we save it, we should see server connect to database first, then server listening on port, then the port. Okay, then if we save, perfect, it's connected to our database successfully. Which database? This database. For now it doesn't show up because it doesn't have a collection. A collection in MongoDB is like a place where data is stored for specific use case. For example, I have many different projects here which I've been working on, and inside of each project there's our collections, right? This is the database, this is the collection. We're gonna look more into Mongoose databases and collections later on, but for now this is all you need to know about connecting your server to the database, and how and why to use environmental variables. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next time.